everybody. My name is Skye. This is JJ. We have the Raw Food Podcast. We are both raw vegans. We completely changed our life with raw foods and we talk on different topics. And today we're talking about the fresh start paradox. Hey, JJ.
Hey, good to see you. I'm
How are
excited
you?
to be here. Thank you for having me or joining me. However
I'm
we say
glad
it.
you're here. I'm glad you're here. And I'm so sorry, everybody. We started late. My fault. But we're here. Hey, Tessa.
Hi, Tessa. Hi. I was going to say, did you miss me too?
Well, just in case you did, there's multiple JJs out there. She's
There's
created
100
her own
of me.
paradoxical multiverse.
I was in here like 10 times. I'm like, that's why she didn't. It was like, wait, you can't miss me.
Oh, well, we're here, we're started. And this is a great topic because many of us, I think we've all done it, hands up here, is you're like, I'm going to start this on New Year's. This New Year's, I think this is the problem I think that I always did, and I changed when I went raw, is this New Year's, I'm going to eat perfect. I'm going to now exercise. I'm now going to meditate. I'm now going to go to bed early. I'm now going to journal. Like, how does a brain even think that that's normal? Like, this time when I started raw foods, I was like, okay, I have to eat fresh. Like, don't go, I'm going to now walk. I'm going to now do a billion things. Just what is the human brain capable of doing? What are your thoughts, JJ?
I agree completely because I think we want things to be really clear, easy, cut and dry, I think, in our minds sometimes. So it's like, I'm going to go all or nothing. I want to, and this time I'm going to do it. But what I realized after 7 years of this and coming in and out of those things several times is the actual part that I learned the most from was at those times when it wasn't perfect. So if you keep just starting over when you go, like going back to square one, like the timeline starts over, it really isn't a true reading of your success or of your knowledge of this lifestyle and your body and yourself, because I think everything we do, even if it's something that we don't think is perfect, that's something that teaches us how to go to the next level possibly of our health. So mentally, when I stopped starting over and just said, I'm a raw vegan, I'm not worried about perfectionism, because in the beginning you can get yourself really upset over one thing that someone might say, or you might find out like, oh, this dressing isn't raw. I've been using it. Now I'm not really raw, so I have to start all over. And imagine the mental anguish of continuing to start over because you're not really starting over. Being raw is trying, in my opinion, to be as healthy as possible with the most raw food that's possible in your life at that moment and that time, and getting through how you need to get through to stay healthy.
100%. It's also, I talk about this so much on these podcasts, and that is the gaming effect, right? So in a game, the reason you are able to complete level 10 is because you succeeded in levels 1 to 9, right? And in 1 to 9, we've, might have gone vegetarian and vegan in level 1 and fallen back and come forward. And then in level 2, when we commit to whole food vegan or more of whole foods, we can do that because we completed level 1. You can't like jump levels. You can, but what I notice in the community is when you jump levels, you fall further. Like you might have been on level 6 and you jump up to like level 10, but then you'll fall all the way back to level 4. So you're better off to just like learn as you go how to be a vegan, how to be vegetarian, vegan, whole foods, high raw. And like, I think it's what I had to learn about myself is how to be comfortable with what is possible, not what I ideally would love to do, what the internet says I should do, like what is actually possible, because my life was depending on this. Like that's what I came to is, again, I've said this before, is some nights like I knew the fresh food made me well. So fresh was easy all day, but some nights I just get carrot, cashews and nama shoyu and turn the carrots into noodles so I didn't order takeaway. And is that like, did that make me feel amazing? Not as good as just eating fresh, especially with how sick I'd been. But and sometimes I just put scoops of nut butter on it. But I wasn't drinking, I wasn't vaping, I wasn't ordering takeaway. And a huge part of the self-love is accepting that. Like, I feel like if you do anything with a negative mindset, it just continues. Like, you keep belting yourself up. And I had to find, the love. And that's a huge part as well in doing that. And I think if you are someone who is like makes any good change in your life, you need to love that. Like, and we don't feel like we get enough dopamine from doing that. Just say you start New Year's and you start walking, and you may think to Joe next door that that's nothing. But just showing up for yourself every day for most people is more than difficult if you've never done any exercise. Like, that's a huge ask. And you have to be proud of you for doing that. And these are all steps that you go, hey, I did the walk. I'm now going to swap my nightly wine for herbal tea. Like, and you'll know you can do it only because you did the walking and showed up for yourself. Like, there's so much value in anything good you do for yourself.
Yeah, and looking at it and noticing it and celebrating it. I think it's so easy for our brain to go to the one thing that we did wrong. We forget about all of the 150 things we've done right this month so far, but there's someone sitting out there somewhere saying, I messed up my New Year's resolution again. I was supposed to go all raw and I had a cooked meal, or I had, some processed food when I was supposed to eat whole food. And if you ate, say, like you ate raw food for 6 days straight, it could be easy for you to forget all about that in that one moment that you may have made a different decision than in your mind was perfect. But that might have been the perfect thing that could have happened right then, because maybe you didn't quite feel as good. Maybe you felt disappointed and you decided, you know what, I'm going to make a healthier choice next time. That is just as much a part of the journey as being raw vegan, is learning those things and celebrating all that time that you were, because we're like, I think, kids in a way, always. Like, we think that we're tougher as adults, but really, when you celebrate yourself, you want to continue to do that more and more. If you continue to bash yourself or say you're not perfect, and when you accept that, yes, you are not perfect, but everything you're doing is part of this perfect journey, it really takes this to a whole nother level of being kind to yourself. And that's what really this is all about. That's what we're all setting out to do, whether we even realize it or not, is by putting as many raw foods as we can, we're being kinder to our system. We're saying, hey, I want to make it easier on you to heal. I want to make it easy on you to have energy. And in a sense, we have to remember to do that with our mind. And I think that's why right now, in the middle of January, or coming up in the end almost, this is why it's so important, I think, that we talked about this, because there's a lot of people out there that think they've ruined their raw vegan journey, when really they've just went to another level of it by making these ups and downs in that. And I think me and Laurie from my group were talking last Monday, and we thought of this analogy that if you got in your car to drive, let's say, from where I am to 150 miles away, but you came upon a little detour, there might be a little bit of like frustration in it, but you don't turn around and go back and start all over back at home. You find a way around it and you keep going. And I think that if we can look at our vegan journey and think about it that way, whether it's vegan journey, raw vegan, whole food, whatever your next level that you're trying to go to for your health is.
But I think all of that's valid. And it's also, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Mm-hmm. Just say you have a cooked meal. You don't have to then go, well, I may as well just eat Oreos now, or I may as well just order takeaway.
That's like, what it does, right?
Yeah, like that's, and I think that is like a bit of dopamine after it, feeling like it's depressing. If you have to get up and let go of everything you know, and now you're going to bed at like 8 o'clock at night, you're getting up and having like food you've never had before that's got, not stimulating to you, and like the value will come, but it will not come instantly. And getting yourself depressed is probably why people, I feel like, sabotage as it is. They like have one meal and they feel like this hit of instant gratification. They're like, well, I may as well have 3 more like with this. I'll start again next week. And most of our lives, we've been on this train. And like, you know, I remember being younger, like in my teens, when I think growing up, it was cool to be skinny, and a new diet would come up on Oprah and it'd be like, oh, I'll start that in 2 days. Like I'll like that. It was just normal, like something. And I guess I'm not like that anymore. So I forget that most people, that's still out there. Like most people are constantly saying lose what is it, like 20 pounds in 2 months, or the secret to a small waist is here, or whatever we're constantly seeing. And it's so much that the week after we'll just start again. And then it's like we've created a new up and down effect. And the human brain does love contrast. So a lot of our learnt gratification comes from feeling like crap and then feeling high. And a good example of that is coffee, right? Is a huge reason we continually go back to coffee is because by the next morning you feel terrible. And then we learn that coffee is amazing because it basically starts to bring us back to normal over, like we get saturated brain receptors from things like dopamine and serotonin from the coffee, right? And other things as well, because it stimulates the adrenals. So there's a lot going on there, and we learn this. And so a lot of the gratification does come from contrast. So when you are feeling like crap from going so hard into a new diet, and then you binge, you're like, oh, this is how I'll now make myself feel better. I'll diet for 3 days and then go all out. But that's why in the lifestyle I never let myself get there anymore, because my life depends on eating a raw food diet. I will do recipes. I will, you know, do raw foods in different ways. I will make sure that when I'm someone as well, if anything ever comes up, I think about what can I make that's raw. Like I really trained myself, and I'm a really big advocate for there being so many ways to do a raw vegan food lifestyle, but just being raw is enough. Like, you know, you've got plenty of time to do a mono fruit or a, you know, high fat, low fat, whatever. But sometimes being raw is just enough. And you've got to figure out for yourself where to sit, is what I believe.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Oh, I love this. Sorry.
I love it. Yeah, I was going to say I love that comment too, as much as I love your comment. And I think that's amazing. You have so many things to eat, and that's how we can all look at it, because really, I mean, I have been doing this in Maryland, which we don't have a lot of, you know, really wide selections in the stores. I could probably seek it out and find them online and stuff, but I don't have like a terribly huge selection of tropical fruits and things like that. But I just make do with what we have in the store, because it still feels like a lot to me when I think about any fruit, any vegetable, nuts, seeds, you know, sprouts. It really is a lot of variety. And it's like, I think though, in our mind, we think about lack sometimes when we're starting a diet. And that's the thing about like what you just said, you know, going on juices is amazing. And that works really well for a lot of people to reset their gut or smoothies or whatever, or even mono fast. I love that. But I feel like for me, what worked was finding a way to make it normal in my life. And then after that was normal, I can go to that next level of, okay, now I can eat only grapes, or now I can do smoothies, because I can get my head around it easier, you know, because you start feeling like if you're restricting too much in the beginning, your mind is finding a way out of it. But that attitude that you just said about having so many things to eat except meat, that mindset is just perfect for this kind of lifestyle, because you're thinking in what can I have and not.
Yeah, like you think in abundance, right? And you made a really valid point. And I did this. I was so real with myself. I think the reason I was so real with myself is because raw food saved my life, but because I was already mostly whole foods. So I think that helps to just know how you're going to approach it if like your life depends on it. And one thing I did, and I still do this, I think I'm better at doing it now because you'll become a master. But to do it is, what do you have readily available? Like there's no point going, I'm only going to eat organic, and you can only go there on Saturdays. Like, because you end up in lack. Like I am like you, like what is in my area? Oh, yum. What is in abundance, right? Like what is at every local shop? Like, and my core raw diet depends on readily available foods. Yes, there is seasonal changes, right? But when I get a craving, is everywhere, like dates. Okay, this is just some general things for me. Tomatoes, zucchinis, cucumbers, in summer, watermelons, technically all year watermelons. Like, what is in every ginger, garlic, chili? Like, there is great things. Like, I do love my sea moss gel, and I order that now. But that isn't something which I can only get in the natural health food shop. I have to reconstitute, and that's a thought ahead. It's not readily available. Like, my core raw diet completely relies on even there's just whatever is at most of the shops, because if you start like relying your diet, your forever diet, on things that aren't available, your brain finds a way out. Like, it's its job for you to be secure. Like, make yourself secure. And like, that's why, and as well, you did talk on something about how people are like, you know, they were using a dressing and, you know, it wasn't technically raw. Doesn't matter. Some people are raw vegan and still allow sauces. I actually know a couple who do interchange, and that keeps them raw. And I haven't really addressed this before, but, you know, I do things like powders now, like hemp protein powder, and I do spices and things like that. And I do dehydration, and I do cashews, and I do apple cider vinegar sometimes, and nutritional yeast. And some people might go, they aren't raw. Well, any nut in a packet isn't raw, but that's not my argument. The reason I don't say I'm high raw is not about anybody else. It's about me, because I know me. If I start saying I'm high raw, I'll go, well, if I'm high raw, I'll just have a bit of sweet potato, and I can't.
Yeah.
Because that's why I have to say I'm raw, and there will be no heat applied. Like, that's, for me, it doesn't work. And every person has to work that out for themselves. I mean, if you ask ChatGTP, I think it says like 70%, 50 to 70% of fresh raw foods, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's just about what keeps me healthy. I eat it, no heat, and that's what works for me. And all of the things I mentioned are readily available. Like, you can get apple cider vinegar, nutritional yeast, all in just a local supermarket. And that is security for me, because it is hard. It's a tough world to be healthy in.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you there. I think you touched on it there. It's like the label of it can change your thinking of what is acceptable, and that level that you want to stay at is where I like to say I'm raw vegan, even if I've ate cooked foods or whatever over the period of 7 years. That where I strive and want to be is fully raw, and so every day I wake up saying I'm raw vegan instead of giving giving myself a reason to not be, I guess, is the way that, it can go in your mind. You can start giving yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's just like you said, what is your personally, how do you feel your best? And me, I feel my absolute best being raw. So that's what I wake up every day looking to get as much raw food as I can, but not also punishing myself mentally or physically or whatever if something's not fully raw, and if it's something that's going to help me stay as healthy as I can be.
That's right. I think it's a huge thing is about learning to do what works for you in a world where we're told what to do from birth. So from a young age, like parents, I remember watching something. Now, I don't know if it was a documentary or I learned it at university, but I do know that in most cultures, parents aren't so fear-driven with their children. So when I say cultures, I mean cultures who are more isolated, haven't been connected to first world, like I could say privileges, but like they live in like huts and communities and outdoors a lot still. So the children usually continually come back to the parent because that's the comfort. But the idea is the child explores freely. Like, they go out and freely explore the trees and the dirt. And of course the parent's keeping an eye on it, but that's like the goal. Whereas in like modern world, it's like, don't touch that. Don't go near that. That's going to kill you. Don't do that. Come back. You've done that wrong. And that's all right. And then we go to school and it's even harder. Okay. And I want people to listen to the voice that's been shut down from birth, pretty much, right? That's the goal. So whatever that looks like for you at this point of time is about you. And the more you learn to feel comfortable in it, you'll feel more comfortable when people come at you. You're not raw. That's not raw. You're doing it wrong. What does that sound like?
You're
It
right.
sounds like the mother that and the school and the whole way we've been conditioned, and that's what you've got to learn to let go of. So if you're not ready to go high enough and confront where you're at, that's a part of it too. Like, where are you comfortable every day feeling good? Because there's no point. I always feel if there's a battle outside, there's a battle inside. So if you're battling with everybody to stay raw, maybe it's you that's struggling more than you know. Because when I'm confident in what I'm doing, no, I'm like an unbothered queen. Like, I'm like, you can say what you want and it's not good. But if it's really affecting you, is there a battle going on inside? Because that's the whole battle. The whole battle is the whole world's going to be blah, 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 telling you all these different things, and you need to be unbothered kings and queens out there. And what does that look like for you? So
I agree. And I think that fear freezes us in a sense. So if we look at it from the perspective of things that might, might be scary or that we don't want to really think about and see or hear, we run away from it, really. Like, we don't want to, we all sort of, in some ways, like you said, as kids, know that our parents are doing that. Like, hey, this is going to do this to you. And it's like, it doesn't make you eager to do it. But if you say, hey, if you do this, we can go watch TV afterwards, it makes the kid want to go do that so you can then go watch TV, more so than saying you better go watch TV or you're, grounded for a year. And then what's going to be better mentally, right? I mean, you better go do this or you're going to be grounded. And then so I like doing that for myself, saying, I eat raw food to feel healthy, not, especially if you're a beginner. It's like saying this cooked food's not good for me immediately makes me want to either not look at that information, or it makes me want to like not do the whole thing, because too much like negativity and fear, it makes people run away from the lifestyle. And so the more of a positive spin we can put on it, seeing how wonderful you feel and how good it made me feel, not saying I can't, that the cooked food's going to do this to me, but guess what raw food did for me? And I think that reframe in our mind helps us want to keep doing it rather than just doing something because we have to.
yeah, I think that's really important as well. It's just about finding out. I think you can also use what you had in your past, as you're saying, is do this and you'll get this. But this time we're going to set up our own goals and our own results. Like, instead of being like in a punishment type way, it's like, as you've said, is if I do this, I will have my health. What more do we want than our health? Like, I think that's incredible, right?
Yes. And it's like, instead of scaring people and saying, like, if you don't do this, this could happen to you, because we can say there's so many factors involved in it. But I can surely say, if you continue to, fear sell yourself over and over, most people that do that, it's part of your journey, like knowing what makes you feel bad and what makes you feel good. But the more that you focus on the bad, it seems our mind wants to have like that false sense of freedom that we talked about before. It's like, you can't have that cake, and then it's like, oh, but now I want that because I should be able to have it. Where if you say, like, I should be and deserve to be healthy and feeling my best and having the most energy and showing up for my family, and doing that means eating raw, then it's so much easier to go for raw food and not focus on your things that you're having to like change from your day-to-day life before you were vegan.
I think how much we love fear, like, as in, you can't have that chocolate cake, and so you'll sneak around or sneak a piece out when nobody's looking. How society is set up with fear really shows when we think about crime shows. The popularity of thrillers and like serial killer movies and people indulging in that really shows how much we can get dopamine from these type of things. And this is not how we were meant to be wired. So I think it's really important to start looking at what is going to make me actually feel good, as opposed to those things are more dopamine from distraction. You're not really thinking about your own life when you're like trying to sneak into a fridge. It's like a side quest
Yeah.
away from your life. Right? I feel like most of my life was side quests. Like all these diets you're going to get, this small waste or whatever you're going to get is like a side quest. It's not actually life. Like, how do you incorporate all your goals into a lifestyle? And people don't want to do the work because you don't get much dopamine at the start, but the rewards are so much better.
Yeah. And
I
learning
think
how to live with it, or learning how to do it in real life, is the real reward.
well, this is real life, right? Is we think it's not. We're like, when I say we think it's not, I think it's just that we don't think of a lifestyle. We're like, we're just going to do this diet for 2 weeks and get our
Right.
result. And that's happily. It's probably all the stories we were told. We live happily ever after. And we
Yeah.
think that. But I think it's about how does that look long term. And for me, it's like recipes and being part of a community and doing retreats, books, ebooks. Like, I want to make this as fun as I possibly can. Have a community of people around me that I love with similar mindset that make me feel good when I talk to them. The food feels good. The movement feels good. Like all the things that feel good all the time. And I think when you start doing that, you have to learn to do that. And we don't want to continually get stuck in the paradox of, I mean, the next news. And I think in the end, I think that's half the reason I don't make resolutions anymore on New Year's, is because of the past results that I've actually had in doing it. I'm better off, and this is another thing I think people need to think about, is when I went raw, is I realized most of my life I had been like, right, I'm going to start exercising on the 1st of, January. I've bought the dumbbells. I've cleared my diary. I've got the outfit. I've signed up for the course. All that energy I put into those high dopamine things, I should have just started. And that's what I did when I worked out raw foods work, is I wasn't wasting any more energy on all the stuff which was still giving me dopamine. I still wasn't really focused on changing me. Like,
Yeah.
you actually, any energy you spend on, just do the action, because half the struggle is rewiring your brain.
Yeah, and I think you can talk yourself, whatever it is, out of it if you start putting start dates on things, because that day usually never will come. At least when it was like in my younger years, if I would set a resolution, I'm like, okay, well, I didn't do it today, so I tell you what, I'll do it February 1st. And then you get all that prep time, all that dopamine, watching the videos or reading about this particular thing, and then comes February 1st, and it's like, I don't feel like doing that today. You know what? It'd probably better if I start in the spring, because then I can get outside. So let me start the diet in the spring, and then it's all of a sudden it's March, and then like you can, if you just do one little thing to start your journey, you're already in it. You're already on it. You're doing it. You don't have to say, I'm going to do it, because when you do it, you also give yourself, your mind, that comfort that, wow, I can do it because I did this, I started it. So, it's not something I'm starting for 3 days. It's something I'm starting to add things to my life that I can see myself doing every day, and start to watch yourself and feel yourself being in it. And going all in means not necessarily just joining all the groups, but using that community or that mentor, or to look at the information or all the videos maybe that we do, and whatever it helps you through it. Those things, use them when you're struggling, not just talking about a new start date. It's about right now is where you can make that one little choice. Like, I don't necessarily know what I want to eat today, and I'm thinking about making a choice that's not as healthy, but you know what? I remember Skye did that. I always think about that burger because I wanted to be there as your neighbor and knock on your door. But I see Skye did that really good raw vegan burger. Maybe I'll do that instead. And then you've all of a sudden made it fun. You're getting ingredients, getting that dopamine, but you're staying raw. And then the next day you've got, wow, I did it. So that's just as important. And alternatively, if you did eat something else, and you felt like, man, I didn't have my same energy at work the next day, which has happened to me several times. Even since we've been doing this, I've talked about this, going off raw and back on a couple of times and not feeling good, or my knees start swelling. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Not going to fear sell myself, but now I see why. I like to see it as much raw as possible. And I just happened to look at that comment. I've never saw eggs or meat, this person said, until I moved for my degree to another states of India, and it's still rare to see. That's amazing.
Wow, that is very interesting.
Skye.
That is very interesting. But I also think about, speaking about staying raw and how do I stay raw, when I think about somewhere like India or Jamaica, is the first thing that comes to my mind is, well, fresh food, but also all the spice. So I actually, this is like about staying raw and how do you stay raw. I actually spend an evening, this is what I do in my lifestyle, going through Amazon and finding all different spices, like
Nice.
Ethiopian Berber. I think there's a Louisiana Cajun spice, all these different spices. They're like $1 or something. And so I find that fun. I do create recipes with them. And you get lots of flavor. But I feel like India and Jamaica, every time I think of it, I would love to go and experience a culture which has had this experience with all these different spices, but you just do it raw. Because I feel like there's nothing you can't do raw. People spend a lot of energy thinking about what they don't like about it, but all I do is think about, how do I do it? Like that's my dopamine and adrenaline comes from, how do I make that hamburger raw? How do I make that curry raw? Like I love it, and I've never found it that difficult.
I feel like, you do a lot of shows here, which are amazing. I tend to watch them, when they pop up. And I'm like, I can see you now having one called the Spice Girls. A panel of everyone talking about spices, right? I love it.
Do you know who I could do that with?
My brain works in those weird puns.
I'm going to tell Lissa that, because I feel like Lissa's really good with spices. Yeah. I'll be like, hey, we can set up a the Spice Girls.
I'm going to see it pop up one day, and I'll be like, I remember we talked about that.
I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
Yes, and talking about that's funny. You led right into that, like we planned that. But what I really, really want is to feel my best, right? Like I want to be alive. I want to. So like,
I really want to go raw.
I really want to roll. I love it.
Oh my God.
And I knew I could get a song out of you with that too. So.
Oh, easy. It's not hard to get a song and dance out of me. The thing that stops me is YouTube demonetizing half the things I do, because I'm always singing. Not my voice. I don't think it recognizes that, but when I play music.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, because I don't think my singing would make them take anything down. They wouldn't even know it was singing. They'd be like, what kind of animal is making that noise? I live in Jamaica.
Is that Jamaica? I guess that's Jamaica. But I think when you first, like, it's about, when I say owning being raw, is if you sit there planning for 2 weeks, or not even that, I guess it comes up a month and a half before New Year's, you start going, oh, I'll do that then. I'll do that then. You're training your brain. I'll do that then. Oh, I'll put that onto them. Oh, I've learnt that then. I'll do that then. And so you say that and then do something different. What do you think happens on New Year's Day? Do you think your brain automatically clicks into gear? And why it's so hard? Because you've trained your brain for a month and a half to do something different. So I say, when you decide to make a change, do it instantly, but it doesn't have to be big. Like it just has to be, just say you have a wine after work. 3 days a week, do tea instead of wine. It doesn't have to be big. The more little good you do starts to build up, and you get confidence in knowing that you can do another change. I just think there's so much value in doing that. And that's a huge one. And the other value is make it fun. Do the Spice Girl song. Do dance in your kitchen. Sing into a spatula. I don't care. Whatever floats your boat, make it fun. Like it works. Like I just find I get so much more energy. I feel amazing. I have my health. I feel like I have my dream life. Even when I'm not doing well, I'm still doing well. There's just so many benefits. And that's why I do it. But when we get to craving a croissant, that usually gets shoved in the back cupboard. So you're better off to be like, how do I satisfy this now? Like, what does that look like, you know, for me now? And this is what comes to me. Like, I have a 3-ingredient bread recipe. If I was craving a croissant, I would more than likely, because what came to mind is like a chocolate croissant, is I would do my 3-ingredient bread with some cacao in it and dates, like to satisfy, like, what can I, instead of thinking I can't have that, I'll never have that, do I want to stay on this, does this serve me, having a whole bucket list of reasons, which you can look through, but usually that's not the part of the brain we're accessing. We're accessing instant gratification. And I find it better to hit that nail on the head, and do it and then move on. And I usually am, and I'm happy. I've never not.
Never had to, like, you know, second guess that after. And it's temporary. It's in passing. Like, that's not going to be something you'll even remember a year from now, but you got through that moment, and that's what is so important, that you got yourself to that, you know, to feeling good again, to feeling back and feeling aligned is so important. I think, like, for me now, like, that's doing what I want to do isn't necessarily always exactly like the thing that you might be craving. It's how do I stay raw in a world that is not raw, in a sense. Sometimes you have to think that way, like, this is what I really want. Because if you're going to feel bad about what you're doing, sometimes it's easier to just find a way to make it work, you know, and find a way to stay raw in the best, in that new standard that you have, which I love how you presented that. You know, if you have, like, for me, it's probably eating an avocado or a date. And
Yeah, for me too.
maybe for people that are at beginner level, they don't have all the, you know, maybe they don't want to make a recipe, but what can you eat that maybe is giving you that nutrient or that dense feeling or that comfort, whatever you're looking for in that very moment? Because I think it's all very emotional, and sometimes it's just, hey, I want it, right? We don't have to really overthink it, and just have what you can that's going to taste good to you at the moment. Or we talked about this before, like delaying it a little bit. You know, sometimes it's just, man, I'm stressed out or I'm bored or whatever, you know, that's making you, and you get something in your mind that you used to eat and you're like, do I want that? And then it's like, what do I really want? You know, no, I want to stay this course. I want to stay healthy and take a deep breath and just get through it. And I think, like, for me, that doesn't come up like that, but in the beginning, it does. Like, after the dopamine, you're gonna have that period of time where a lot of times you're gonna be like, I'm really doing this. I'm really raw. And then at that moment, oh, sometimes that's when a craving will come in, and it will, like, your mind can't even imagine that you're like fully raw. And I was going to say too, it's funny how we can complicate things. Like, raw is the easiest thing to do, right? Because it's like the food doesn't have to be cooked. But it's funny how we've, like, shifted our thinking based on how we've all been you know, brought up, and things that now cooking the food is like more normal than just eating it, and it's like raw, because it's like I can just grab an apple. It seems easier, but in our mind, it's now not as easy to eat it raw than it is to cook it. Is it? I don't know. It's just some random
I
thought.
think it goes back to that, what I was saying before about how when you look at tribes that are still out, you know, living in like nature, where their kids are, their day is free to just play and explore. The parents barely interject, right? Unless a child's really gone off course. Most of the day, the child is like free to explore, and they'll come back to the parent, free to explore. And whereas from a young age is, we're not really hungry and we're made to eat foods that doesn't really serve our body. Eat, you know, it's this, sit down, you're not going to play, you know, eat. And I think there's a real battle that goes on inside of people's minds. And I think it comes up more when you start clearing the mind and the system, that comes up that, like, almost, how do I say it, is something starts going wrong or not working, and we think we're supposed to eat things that don't serve us. Or we have this emotional connection to things that don't serve us. And this is why I say is, whatever, you have to work with where you're at, what you're capable of doing, and you don't want to push yourself too much. You don't want to open a floodgate of all this childhood trauma or something around eating. Like, where can you sit, feel good, feel safe, and feel like you are still rewarding yourself? And very important is, when you first go raw, avocados, dates, and nut butter are going to be your friends. Do I do this now? Well, sometimes I still have avocado and dates, but it's not like, oh my God, I'm going to eat something bad if I don't have some dates or dates
Yeah.
and nuts or an avocado with salt and pepper and some lemon. Like, you really want to figure out, is it worth ignoring this like overwhelming feeling? Because I always find you can only do it so long, and then there's big need for something comes along. Yeah. So I just found that like I made being raw so important, nothing else was going to budge. Like and when every time I went to, I still think like this now, every time I had a feeling or a thought come up, I would go, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be put down. I don't want to be in psych units with no one can hear me or do anything. Like, I knew this was my way out, and I had to remind myself of just the actual hell I've been through. Because even when people go raw, a huge amount will change in your life. Even if everything doesn't go completely, you have to remember the hellhole you've been in. Like, if you've been in chronic pain, if you've had surgeries, if you've had diseases, especially autoimmune disease and chronic illness where you've been dismissed by doctors, you have no rights. This is your right to feel good. Like, this is the decisions you're going to be making. And it's better to go slow and still be out of most of your autoimmune and all your diseases in 2 years' time than it is to be like, forcing yourself through, and then you go all the way back, and then you just eat watermelon, and then you go all the way back. I'm not even saying going that high, but you might have some cooked sweet potato, and you're like, I'm having the cooked sweet potato and not ordering takeaway because I want my rights. I don't want disease. I don't want my body infested with things, and I want to feel good. So yeah, I think that's good. I like that.
Oh, I was just reminding myself so I didn't forget. You mentioned something about, like, let's say you are saying, I'm going to go raw for a month. I'm going to go raw for 3 days. I would recommend, I know it's hard, but don't put any timeline on it. Just say, I'm going raw for my next meal. And literally, because I feel like it helps our brain to not have this like big temporary countdown. It just then becomes like what I'm doing, and then you're learning from doing it each meal. And it's not, I think that's why we always continuously start over, because we didn't make that period of time that we wanted to, whether it was even for a day. I don't even say I'm going to go raw for a day. Just say I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be raw at my next meal, or grab something raw, and just keep adding to that. But I know it's hard because of all the stuff we've been taught with diets and detox, and it's like in the beginning you want to have that and that structure, and that's okay. But like, if you find that you're continually starting over, it's because you're looking at it as something temporary, I think, by mistake. Even if you mean to do it forever, and forever is going to sound like too long in my brain. I'm going to go somewhere else, like the fear of that committing forever.
Yeah, and I think you've brought up an important point. We want to get away from the punishment. So back to what I'm saying about tribes and children growing up and being free to explore, become themselves, versus it's 3 o'clock, you need to have afternoon tea. It's this, you don't want to eat, you have to eat. We want to get away from that. And when your body is telling you this is, you're doing juices for 10 days, and on day 7, it's all too much, and you're going, no, body, you're wrong. All this physiology is wrong, and I am going to think myself out of this. And this is why I think it's not that it's wrong. I think the body is detoxing and changing itself. But you need to learn to love these messages. And this is why slow is so important. Yes, there will still be an internal battle, but you'll go through it and process it and let the body learn at a rate that's no more giving you pain. That's why I was so blown away when I first got well, out of love. Like, I'm like, this food makes me feel good. I'll have avocado, I'll have mango, I'll have like chili and ginger and lime in my salad. Like, that makes me feel good, and I'm satisfied. And people are like, did you have detox symptoms? And I'm like, no, less than I usually do. So when I stopped drinking, and I stopped vaping, and I stopped medication, is usually when I stopped them, I felt absolutely beyond horrible, to the point that I'd go back. And I would guess I was more hydrated as I came off them. And a huge point was every time I came to face something, it came from love. And I was blown away that people were like, no, you're going to suffer. You're going to cry. You're going to scream. You're going to hate it, but you got to keep juicing. And I'm like, what? That's exactly where I was when I was sick. Like, people are telling me to do something and I'm kicking and screaming and having this argument inside. And we wonder why people, when they do that, go all the way back. And that is because you have to fall in love with you. That's the whole thing. Forcing yourself to do something on the 1st of January isn't falling in love with you. Doing a great action, like, as I said, going to bed an hour early with a cup of tea is definitely going to be a sign of, hey, that feels good. It's not hurting. I can sit with this. So I think
that Koala Mama makes a great point here, because sometimes then you want to reward yourself with what you were trying to get away from. On her comment there, she said she used to know someone who would say it's been 3 weeks with no, whether it was alcohol, no cooked food, whatever, and all of a sudden your brain's going to start, now I need it because it's been 3 weeks.
Yeah, like that's like, and that's why they say that diets, when you say, I can't have chocolate, I can't have chocolate, I can't have chocolate, I can't have chocolate, what do you think you're thinking of?
Yes. You got me thinking about it. No,
so that's probably why I was like, right, what is my brain going to make me do? It's going to make me want things. So I just worked with what was in my cupboard. Like, as I said, I'd have these cravings for takeaway, and I would just like turn carrot into noodles, like with a vegetable peeler. Soy sauce is in, noodles. If I had a bit of chili or ginger, just throw it in the bowl. That would be in the sauce, and throw some cashews or some tahini in the bowl, mix it up. I met myself halfway, but I didn't pick up the phone and order it. And after a while, that just left. That was obviously an emotional compulsion. But I knew by ignoring it, it was too big. Like, if something's too big and too loud, and eventually in your past that loud voice has led you back, do you think this time you're going to talk yourself out of it? Like, right. No, I will say the raw foods will help you be more present, but I just found it being like, I will be so for real right now, and I had to be real to get real, really. There's a good one, JJ. I hung out with you too much. I have to be real to get real.
I told you, it's rubbing off on you. Okay,
it is. So,
hi, Carl. I keep trying to figure out how, like, I think my microphone is not plugged in. Hopefully my sound is okay, because I just realized I'm talking to you through the computer.
No, we haven't heard you the whole time. I've just been talking to myself.
Well, at least I looked like I was talking on here. We'll make it work. You were throwing your voice over to me the whole time.
I was.
Getting good.
But I love this topic, because I love the topics we do, because it's all brain, really the biggest, and I'm not in your brain. You have to just meet your brain where you're at and learn, I think.
No,
that's the whole thing. To psychologically support yourself as a healer, as a self-healer. You're becoming a self-healer. Like, what are the tools? How am I going to do this? And ask yourself, do you want to be doing? That's a good question to ask yourself. Could we even do a topic on this? Do you want to be doing this in 40 years' time? Do you think eating only fruit is like right now? Or starting off and just going to be juicing? Like, what does 40 years look like? Because that is the problem, right? Is we know it in the back of our head.
Like a very older lady, we'll just say, in 40 years, right? Wait a minute, 49.
I'll be very happy. I'll be very happy and healthy. But I knew it wasn't possible to be like, I'll just now eat lettuce. Like, this is, I'll fix myself. Lettuce might be the way, or whatever it is. And that's where I'm going to start. I'll be like, well, hell no, that ain't going to really work. If I want to get to lettuce, or like fruit and lettuce, or whatever it is we want to get to, is you have to respect the gaining of the levels. Like, you learn the skills. So if you fall back a few steps, you've got all the tools to sit at that level. Otherwise we tumble all the way back. So
Absolutely. Just like life itself. I mean, look at everyone's been through this journey of life, and we can't really go back and start all over, and but go back to like 2 years old, right? Like it would be nice, right? You could say, I'm just going to start over. But our life is progressive. Everything you've learned made you who you are. Everything you've struggled with makes you a better person, makes you more knowledgeable, makes you figure out how to deal with happiness and fear and relationships. It's all a learning experience. And I think looking at the raw vegan lifestyle as that same thing, that you're getting better every day. You didn't mess up. There are no mess ups. It's learning something new about yourself and how you feel, how you deal with fear and emotions. And it's really like it's changed the way I look at this journey. And it really, I'm finding it's helpful for beginners to make that change. But it's hard because you kind of want to put a finite start and stop, and like, I'm doing this, I'm going to do it, I'm going to make it work this time. It just gets comfortable to keep starting over instead of making it work, I think was what happens by mistake in all areas of life.
Why there's so much value in learning to make a change, go and look at yourself and make that joyous mood today, but why there's so much value in it, in learning how do you make a change, is because you make one change and just say you spend more time on mastering that change than you do on the actual change. If the change is just you're swapping coffee to tea, even caffeinated tea, right? Master doing that so that then you learn that you can do herbal tea, and then all of a sudden your alcohol becomes soft drink. Be real. Don't be like, I'm just going to have water, soft drink, right? And then you may get to herbal tea, right? Alcohol for herbal tea. You master stopping coffee and alcohol. I promise you, experience here, you will become more of a master at changing your diet, the next step in your diet. Sometimes we do things which, and I call this, you can call it shadow work, doing the work in the dark. This is stuff that we have to learn to be grateful that we can do it. We don't get gratification from anyone else. And all the stuff you see in social media, like all the posts, the before and after, that's real, but you're looking at a year's worth of work, or 2 years, or this year I'll post a picture of 5 years worth of work. And how I got to doing, green juices and raw foods and exercise and Pilates and running was just making changes. Even I think it started the 7 or 8 years ago when I went, when all the medications were first taken off me, and I went paleo and I quit basically alcohol, except an occasional wine went out. I learned so many skills that year, and then I went vegan. I went back to alcohol, became an alcoholic. But then I knew I could get off it using herbal teas because I'd done it before. And I used that skill. See, I learned that. So when I fell off again, I had those skills. But they all come from years of work. So
I like that. I went raw. When I first went raw, I wanted to only eat one meal, but like by mistake, because that's all I ever ate was one meal a day anyway in my standard diet. So I started off wanting to do that, but there came a point maybe in the like third week where I was like, I am starving today. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make a choice that's raw. And that's something I've taken with me to this day. Now I know that some days, like today, for some reason, some days I can go all day without eating, and it doesn't, like, it's not on purpose. It's just I'm not that hungry until I get ready to eat some fruit around like 4 p.m. my time. But today I felt hungry, but it wasn't, it's just about reaching for what I wanted. And I ate like banana, I ate blueberries, I ate grapes, I just ate some lettuce. Like I just ate whatever, because it's like, that's one of the things I love about this diet. Like we're so used to diet culture. We can only have a half a cup of this or one small portion of this on our plate, and we're starving ourselves. I'm like, the abundance of this, I love it so much that it's what makes me able to sustain it. And teaching, like starting too early, too restrictive, even if you're trying to lose weight, eat as much as you want in those first couple of days when you go raw, because it's about finding foods you like, choosing foods, that's amazing.
You know what I would like to do with you, JJ? Maybe next week we do our podcast on what did our first week raw look like? I don't know
Okay.
if you remember. I have photos. I keep saying I'm going to do like a video and pull out all my old photos, and I will do that. But I think like what our memory and what it looked like, because it's very different now. Like what the first week, I do, even though my brain back then was barely functioning, I do remember the gist of what was going down. So let's share that. And anyone in the audience can share what their first week was like, because the first year, can I just say, being raw was the most challenging, the most rewarding, the most transformational, the most incredible thing I've ever done for myself in my entire life, to the point that at the end of it is, because I wasn't really connected to my family when I turned 40, they're like, do you want to, for your 41st, have a 40th, like a 41st? And I was like, no, I want to have a raw party. I want to celebrate the fact that for you, I had speeches. I was held at like a function center. Like I had a full-on 1 year. It's the most incredible thing I've ever done for myself. And that's how we've ended up doing podcasts and parties and talks. And I'm just so passionate. Like it's the most challenging, but the most satisfying thing and I've never done anything like it. So
I love JJ Video's comment there. I've seen her when she's raw, and she's like, on a like another level of productivity when she's raw too. We can't keep up with her always.
You know what, JJ? Raw. I didn't know whether that was you talking to yourself.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know whether, like, because I figured you're really good tech. So that's Dawn's on JJ Video. Is that right?
Yes. Oh, that's right. I should probably have said that, right? I look like I'm just talking to a random person.
Yeah, so because I know you're really tech savvy, and I'm thinking, does she have another window open? She's leaving comments to think about later, because like, I don't know, like, is she having a whole conversation?
I'll say John JJ next. John JJ Video.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Oh, congratulations, Koala.
No, she's saying 100%. She us doing the first year to raw.
I got you.
Transformational.
I thought she was saying that at her first year. I missed all that. Look at me.
I don't know anyone, and I'm going to let JJ go because I'm glad you've eaten today. You probably were having these psychic feelings that I'm going to make you run late on the podcast. You're like, I better eat because I won't my salad late. But I just wish there were words to describe the first year raw. Like, there's no words. Like it's the most amazing thing now, but it's my reality.
I couldn't even believe I did it.
Yeah, it's like the things that change. This is my theory before we go, because people say like at about 2 or 3 years in, what they were doing originally doesn't work anymore. Like, raw food they didn't have to do much. Life just completely changed. Like it was just so easy. You just eat the food and just naturally you move more. Your relationships, which aren't meant for you, fade away, and then it doesn't work. And my theory on this is, once we establish, like we jump in vibration. Like I think you have to feel raw foods to truly understand that there's spirit, there's sun in it, and you become like this light being. You jump vibrationally, right? And in this new reality, none of your trauma exists, like none of it, right? You've never been here before. This is what it felt like for me, right? It's like a whole new world. You're exploring this whole new world. And what I feel happens over time is bits of your old self enter this new reality. Like you've still got strings to your past. This is what I feel like. I know a lot of people think it's like a physical thing, but the more I get into this, the more I know I can talk in a more physical sense, but it's my soul, my spirit, 100%. I feel what happened for me is that like I'm tethered to all my past, and it starts to come and enter into my new reality. I don't necessarily think I've dropped. I just think like you have these memories in there, and I think that you have to work through them, and it's a better space to be working through them in. Trust me.
Yeah, definitely.
But I hear this constant story, like why some people it's 1 year, mostly it's 2 to 4 year period where people are doing raw and issues come up, like things that they used to do don't work as well anymore. And I don't necessarily think it's just a physical thing. I think we enter this new world and our past is gone, but then we're tethered to it. That's my theory anyway. But yeah, next week we'll talk on our
completely. I can't wait to talk about it.
Yes. Love you guys. Love you, JJ. Oh, do want to just before we go is I do this afternoon. I don't know what time it is PST time, but 4 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I've got the Phuket Retreat podcast with Tony, and
I've been saying that completely wrong, by the way.
Oh, what? Phuket.
I'm not even going to say it out loud.
Oh, that's so funny. I wonder how many other people say it. Yeah, so that, and then 7 p.m. Australian time tonight, we've got the Europe party. So hopefully Europe is right now going to bed and they can wake up and come to the party. It's a cake party.
Nice.
Yeah, so...
And that would have been perfect. I should have came to the cake party. That's the only thing raw I've ever made that looked good was that raw cake that time.
Oh, well, I just made listen to this, guys. It's in the freezer for tonight. The recipe's up in the live section on my videos on YouTube. I made a coconut and raspberry ice cream cake.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, I made a video of me. That's the video. Did you see it? And I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, I put sea moss gel in something. I couldn't believe how good it tastes. In fact, I'm going to make it taste like the filling tastes like a raspberry ice cream. A raspberry yogurt, and it didn't last long. So I've got more coconuts here. Anyone listening, I'm not doing keto anymore. I have done a video on that. I did talk about that in there, but I'm going to film a video today on that. But that was spiritually. That came to me spiritually. I feel like I've just been through. Anyway, I'm talking away. Okay. You go have your dinner.
If we ever come to Australia, we have to do it for my birthday so I can get one of those cakes. Like Skye with one of her cakes to the party.
Are you watching the championship, JJ?
No, I'm not, but I might now. Thanks for reminding me there's a championship.
I don't even know what that means.
Is it the basketball championship?
Oh, okay. I just didn't know.
I used to be so into sports, and I've kind of lost track talking about those things that like you used to do. It's like when I went raw vegan and got into veganism, it's like a lot of the stuff changed to like my whole world is now revolves around like talking about raw food, posting about raw food, eating raw food,
like,
other
throwing raw food. No, we don't want to do that.
Yes.
It's a college.
Okay. Yeah, we were watching a little bit. We went to this really cool place. Well, my family was here over the weekend. They had these huge screens and they had the March Madness playing on it. So I might have to check it out while I'm having salad.
You will. And thanks for the beautiful comment, Koala Mama. And I will let you go have your salad.
All right. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thank you, Skye. I love these.